I'm a public servant who serves in a volunteer role as an authorizer for my city's charter schools. But first, I'm a parent of 2 children, one who attends a traditional district school and one who attends a public charter school. I am so fortunate to have access to a rich array of public school options. It's a year-over-year decision my husband and I are grateful to be able to make, and it really sets apart our parenting experiences from those of our friends across the region, the country, and even the world. From my vantage point as both an authorizer and as a parent, I get why parents need the ability to make these kinds of choices. Reasons like quality, program, location, proximity. Will this school see my child? Will its educators be able to unlock my baby's potential? Because every student should get what they need to become the best version of themselves. I know that in her charter school, my child has had so many opportunities. She has friends not just in our neighborhood, but in wards across our city, which means we do too. Her school follows an expeditionary learning model with strong mission and strong values. It means educators take a multidisciplinary approach to instruction and culture, from things like weekly community meetings, scholarly habits that we can reinforce at home. They really work to grow her brain and for her to see herself as crew, not passenger. It's our kind of language. Her experience is special and rare, though perhaps not rare for this room. Every child deserves access to a school that makes them feel valued and puts them on a path to lifelong learning, a fulfilling career, and economic stability. As authorizers, we must set the bar high for quality so that choice is meaningful. And we must do what we can to ensure that our city has real choices for all families, especially those farthest from opportunity, across every corner of our city and for learners of all ages. As advocates, we must come together to ensure that every child in this country has access to a great public school. Our country needs it, and our kids deserve it. It's up to us to make it happen.
The immigrant kid, the IEP kid. Those were the labels used to describe me, a young David Spicer, an immigrant from Mexico. Whether due to my cultural ostracization or my speech impediment, I grew up overlooked and underestimated. I grew up as that at-risk student we whisper about in secret. This adversity, however, was also one of my greatest teachers and inspired my passion for education, a passion that took me across the river to MIT to study education policy, a passion that took me back home to be a teacher. And adversity taught me that we need an education system that looks beyond labels and beyond perceived deficits. That's why I became an education enthusiast, to honor and uplift all students and provide top-notch opportunities to dream bigger, take risk, and explore innovations to better serve both current and coming generations of learners. According to new research from the Walton Family Foundation and Gallup, today's students give their schools only a B- grade overall. They rank their schools even worse, a C+ when it comes to making learning relevant and helping prepare them for the future. Students today are pessimistic about their education experiences and yearn for support. There's work to be done. We can do better. As a Gen Zer teacher, I address my students' needs by keeping learning culturally relevant. Now, no bad blood to William Shakespeare, but I start my poetry unit with Taylor Swift, and not to be the bad guy, but I introduce Billie Eilish before Robert Frost. When I bring songs like Bad Guy and Bad Blood into my classroom, I center my students' voices by teaching from their interests. As an education enthusiast, these types of lessons demonstrate my oath to making learning relevant and enjoyable. The world needs more education enthusiasts, and that's why charters are such an integral part of education today, because the challenges our students face are urgent and significant. Addressing them requires the creativity to inspire and a precision that doesn't leave wins on the table. Charter schools are where innovation is encouraged. Charter schools are where flexibility to adapt practices and pedagogy to meet emergent students' needs is the norm, not the exception. Charter schools are where educators, like myself, are honoring students' passions and interests. Charters are showing what's possible when there's a school filled with education enthusiasts. And charter schools are where students are identified not by labels, but by their strengths and talents. In my classroom, it's not that IEP kid needs help. It's that child has so much potential, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to tap into it. That's why I proudly stand with charters.
I am a lifelong charter school student. I've attended the same charter school since kindergarten, and I'm now a rising senior at Harmony Science Academy, Carrollton. I've had incredible opportunities to learn, and my peers have shared similar experiences. As charter students, our school fits our needs. Our teachers aren't constrained by traditional methods, and our learning is not limited by our zip codes. While I've learned so much over the years, in this moment, one stands out: the importance of advocacy and leadership. I serve as our student council president, as well as in the statewide conference for the Service Leadership Society at the Texas State Capitol. I'm driven by my desire to create positive change in our community. I suspect that's why all of us are here today. We see the positive changes brought about by charters, and we want all students to have those same opportunities. Charter schools not only encourage a strong sense of community between students and teachers, but between all of us here in this room today. I raise my voice to support charter schools through my collaborations with the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools, and by educating people on the incredible benefits of charter schools, while helping encourage students to become engaged in their education. What I wish for is for all of us to keep moving forward, keep raising our voices, and keep learning new things, which I know I will enthusiastically continue to do. Together, we can lead the way to change.
Friends and colleagues, please welcome our MC back to the stage. Here's Christopher De La Cruz.
Hello! Yes, yes, yes. Let's keep it going for our spotlight speakers, Lea Crusey, David Spicer, and Maliakal. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring experiences as a parent, an authorizer, a teacher, and student with us. How's everyone feeling? Day 2? I hope everyone here had some inspiring experience of their own on day 1, whether you were reconnecting with old friends at the exhibit hall happy hour or tackling new challenges with colleagues during breakout sessions. Yesterday, you got to hear Star Lee Coleman, the National Alliance's incoming president and CEO, to learn a little bit about her vision for the movement. It's been wonderful for all of you to join together, educators, advocates, and policy leaders, to celebrate your wins and elevate your impact, standing up for your students inside and outside of the classroom. Give yourselves a round of applause for doing that. Now, I'm very excited to introduce our next speaker, another phenomenal charter school student and National Alliance Rising leader, Nathan Miztyk Duguid, a senior at Great Oats Legacy Charter School in New Jersey. Nathan, yes, already we got some fans. Nathan is engaged in many leadership roles, including as the president of his school's Student Government Association and as the editor-in-chief of his school newspaper. Nathan uses his platform to shed light on important issues and raise awareness about educational inequities. In addition to his leadership work, he's also a poet, rapper, and songwriter. He's here to share his views on teaching in his original work titled Teaching My Soul. Folks, give a huge round of applause for Nathan Miztyk Duguid.
What's going on, Boston? Can we make some noise? What's going on, Boston? All right. As you heard, I hail from Newark, New Jersey, a recent graduate of Great Oaks Legacy Charter School. And today I come to deliver a song that I wrote that is really to inspire all of the educators in the room and to educate about the role of education. And it is called Teaching My Soul. Yeah. It should not be debatable to say that a teacher's job is one of the most important in the world. I say that because education is an integral part of any working society, but also because education is more than a teacher-student dynamic. It is a spiritual journey of connections and transfers between humanities. The teaching, the transfer of knowledge, of wisdom, of culture, of custom, of love, of hate, of old, of new, of us, and of others. And those that choose to say, I will educate for the furtherance and well-being of the educated. Within and beyond academia, I am here because of those brave souls. So are you. I want to join them one day. Yeah, listen. All this life of mine, I have realized that all the teachers I've known, you've been teaching my soul. All this life of mine, I have realized that all the teachers I've known, you've been teaching my soul. You've been teaching my, yeah, you've been teaching my, you've been teaching my, you've been teaching my soul. You've been teaching my, yeah, you've been teaching my, yeah. Listen. This is an ode to educators, debate facilitators, and hallway mediators, times table teachers, and the Shakespeare essay graders. All students from seniors to second graders. You don't just reach our minds, you teach our souls and train our eyes to find the holes in a nation's lives or to justify our nation's pride. When America can't decide on glory or demise, when questions arise in the mind of a child, the world gave an inch, but they really need a mile. Would you give them a ride or would you give them wings to fly? Brush to paint pictures, heat to bake pies. The war you've enlisted for, you might find education more than the teaching of a mind, the spiritual connection, your humanity and mine. All this life of mine, I have realized that all the teachers I've known, you've been teaching my soul. All this life of mine, I have realized that all the teachers I've known, you've been teaching my soul. You've been teaching mine. You've been teaching my, you've been teaching my, yeah, you've been teaching my soul. You've been teaching my, you've been teaching my soul. Yeah. Listen. One day I think I'll be a teacher, but only cause I really wanna try to reach a point that I can make a change in a life when I aim at the psyche and brain in my sights. World looking to with a rifle and knife. I'd be a fool not to teach kid to fight. Might not be physical, more like brain things. Fighting for his right, she fights for new heights. Advocate great to make a change in her life. Remember that was the goal, to pull them out of the holes. I will do it, I'm all will, some all might. That confusion spreads fright, yeah. I stand here because of every teacher that fights, every teacher that walks, drives, rides, or bikes, to classrooms where students are battling dark and light and says to themselves, I will make a change in a life. And educators, remember the souls you teach. Leaders, remember the souls you serve. And together, we can all learn. You've been teaching my soul. Thank you.
Take it in, Miztyk, take it in. Yes, yes. Keep it going for Miztyk, y'all. That was dope. No doubt a powerful voice for education advocacy, possibly a Grammy winner, right? We got a little, perhaps, BET Awards winner. We're keeping our eye on you, sir. That was absolutely incredible. Now, please, I'm excited to welcome to the stage Eric Paisner, Interim President and Chief Executive Officer for the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools. Eric has served in many capacities at the National Alliance, including leading the legal team, serving as Chief Operating Officer, and most recently playing a critical role as the organization's interim CEO. Eric has brought so much to the National Alliance during a tenure that spans more than a decade. We're so happy to have him here with us today, and we thank him for his leadership. Folks, please welcome to the stage, Eric Paisner.
those students were amazing. At my first charter school conference in 2008, I watched Ember Reichgott-Young, Linda Brown, and Yvonne Chan get inducted into the Charter School Hall of Fame. At that moment, 15 years into the life of charter schools, each of them have carved out new space in our sector, creating our first law, incubating groundbreaking new schools, and converting failing district schools to high-performing charters. These amazing women set the bar high, and their commitment, vision, and hard work inspired many of us to follow their lead. The National Alliance for Public Charter Schools created the Charter School Hall of Fame to honor exactly this kind of pioneering work. Our Hall of Fame inductees are diverse in gender, ethnicity, race, region, and profession. Nominees can be organizations, schools, or individuals that merit recognition, but they all have some things in common. They have made defining efforts in the development or growth of charter schools. They have made a long-term commitment to the contribution to charter schools and education. They have contributed innovative ideas and pursued the successful implementation of those ideas, and they have inspired others in the charter school movement. Among the 42 members of the Charter School Hall of Fame are some of the most recognized and recognizable names in American education, including Dr. Howard Fuller, John Walton, former Secretary of Education John King, and Senator Mary Landrieu. Today, we add a new name to that distinguished list. Just a few years after I attended that first conference, I met Nina Rees when she came to work at the National Alliance in 2012. At the time, neither I nor I suspect Nina thought that her path might lead her to own her own place in the Charter School Hall of Fame 12 years later. Of course, I didn't actually know firsthand what it took to reach that level of achievement. But for more than 10 years, I watched how Nina led our sector every single day, including more than her first share of weekends and holidays. Saw the level of work and commitment it took to move so many stakeholders toward a collective goal. And I watched Nina charge confidently toward her vision in the face of hundreds of different opinions, shifting political landscapes, a global pandemic, and a steady stream of daily challenges. I could see that Nina knew where she was headed. Her focus, determination, and hard, grinding, unceasing work meant that collectively, we would create many, many opportunities for students and families. The results under Nina's leadership have been astounding. More than $1.5 billion in additional funding for the charter schools program over 2012 levels. New charter laws created in Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Montana, Washington, and West Virginia. More than 2,000 schools created, nearly 2 million additional seats nationwide, just to name a few accomplishments. Even before joining the National Alliance, Nina made major strides for students at the U.S. Department of Education, launching the Office of Innovation and Improvement and the Charter School Program Office that provided startup grants to half of all charter schools nationwide. When you see a legacy growing day by day, it's hard to recognize how large the accomplishments will turn out to be. But now, looking back to 2008 and to Nina's tenure at the National Alliance from 2012 to 2013, it's abundantly clear that Nina is a peer to those charter movement pioneers. Like each of them, Nina forged her own path, raised the bar for us all, and improved the lives of countless students and families across the nation. And it wasn't just me and my National Alliance colleagues that got to see all this. Nina brought the whole movement along with her. You saw her on this stage many times. You met her daughter, and maybe danced alongside her mother, who came to the conference every year, and is here again today. You likely talked to her in the halls of the convention center or saw her when she came to state conferences or visited many of your schools. Nina pushed us forward, pulled us along, and walked next to us as she led this movement. I'm honored and proud to recognize my colleague, mentor, and friend. I'm grateful to have worked alongside her. Please join me in welcoming Nina Rees to the Charter School Hall of Fame.
With more than 30 years dedicated to education, Nina Rees, former president and CEO of the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools, has left an indelible mark on the charter school community and the students they serve. Nina's journey began as an Iranian immigrant who came to America as a teenager, finding her educational footing in America. During her first 2 decades in education, she shaped policy in both public and private sectors, notably as the first Deputy Undersecretary for Innovation and Improvement at the U.S. Department of Education. Then, in 2012, Nina took the reins of the National Alliance, propelling the charter school movement to unprecedented growth. Under her leadership, charter schools expanded by 2,000 schools and nearly 1.5 million new students, with charter laws now active in 46 states. Her advocacy helped grow federal funding significantly, reaching $440 million annually for the charter schools program alone. Nina's legacy extends beyond numbers. She's been a catalyst for equity, innovation, and achievement in American education. Her impact has been profound, touching the lives of millions of children nationwide. Thank you, Nina, for your unparalleled leadership. Welcome to the Charter School Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much, Eric and the National Alliance, for this great honor. And congratulations for yet another awesome National Charter Schools Conference. I am so grateful for the support that I have received over the past nearly 12 years from my team at the National Alliance, from all of our funders, from all the lawmakers who stood in our corner, but most of all, to all of you for showing up with energy and passion for your students every single day, for your schools, and for this movement. Of course, I owe everything to my parents, who made great sacrifices to move us to the United States when I was a teenager. My mom is here today. Thank you, Mom. She told me I could step from my role at the National Alliance so long as she could keep coming to the conferences. So hope you'll get invited in the future, Mom. My daughter, Sophia, is not here with us today, but I get most of my inspiration from being a mom myself. It is truly such a privilege to be standing on this stage next to some of the individuals who, quite frankly, mentored and taught me everything that I know about the school choice and charter school movement. Dr. Howard Fuller, Dr. Checker Finn, Lisa Graham Keegan, to name a few. But as much as I appreciate being in such great, esteemed company, you guys should know that I have never really enjoyed being honored. I get flashbacks to an awards ceremony in high school. As many of you know, when we moved to the United States, we moved to a small town in Southwest Virginia with one high school. And while I spoke some English, I wasn't exactly fluent. And I also didn't understand the thick Southern accent of my teachers. I had attended a French language immersion school back in Iran, so I signed up for an AP French class. This was one of the few classes where I could converse, show off my academic prowess, and probably annoy a lot of my peers. At the end of senior year, my French teacher, Mrs. Campbell, decided to give me an award before the entire school. It was one of the many ways that she tried to boost my confidence. But for me, as a young kid who didn't want to bring too much attention to her immigrant heritage, that experience was simply mortifying. Yet today, the only two adults whose names I remember from my high school are that of Mrs. Campbell, the French teacher who went on to help me with my application and to eventually go to college, and Mrs. Darmamuth, my guidance counselor, who pretty much said I was not college material. We all have stories of why we are in the charter school movement. For me, one of the key reasons I have loved being in this movement for so long is because that it is comprised of the Mrs. Campbells of the world, all of you. And I have loved my work on charter schools since I started working on them at the US Department of Education about 20 years ago. Charter schools are one of the only mechanisms to expand access
to greater educational options for all kids. So when I went to the US Department of Education, that is sort of one of the things that I learned very quickly. When I came to the National Alliance in 2012, we set out to expand the amount of money that was available at the federal level through a program called the Charter Schools Program, so that we could give successful charter schools more funding to replicate and expand, and to also give funding to newcomers to continue to push us to innovate. We grew that program from $254 million in funding, in annual funding in 2012, to $440 million in annual funding by 2019. And we have kept those dollar amounts at that level ever since, and hopefully, Starlee, you can grow it even further. But the other thing we set out to do was, quite frankly, to improve the quality of our state laws. Charter school laws are created at the state level. Every state has created a charter school law for very specific and unique reasons, and every community wants a charter school for very specific reasons. And I started at the National Alliance just as the charter school movement was reaching its 20th anniversary. We had 2.3 million students attending about 5,600 charter schools. We are now serving 4 million students in over 8,000 charter schools. And nearly half of those schools received funding from the Charter Schools Program, which is the program that our team at the National Alliance fights so hard to protect and to grow. But even more importantly, the quality of our sector over the past decade has dramatically improved thanks to you, but also because of the strength of the laws that we helped enact. To the point where Stanford University's Mackie Raymond calls charter schools the only story in US public education where we've been able to create a set of conditions where schools do actually get better. That's a pretty big deal coming from her. It is the dedication of leaders like you that keeps this movement going and keeps this movement growing. That can-do attitude that questions conventional wisdom, that challenges the soft bigotry of low expectations and proves that all kids can learn and that the achievement gap can be closed. And so today, I want to remind you of the power that you have in shaping not just the future of your students and your schools, but also the future of this movement. You can do this by constantly pushing back against rules that don't make sense, by continuously putting children front and center, and by drawing inspiration from the stories of those who helped shape this movement, many of whom stood on this very stage to be inducted into the Charter Schools Hall of Fame. I am honored to be standing next to them today, and I will always stand with you as we fight for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina, for your tireless work on behalf of students, families, and schools. You definitely do not want to be the person who told Nina she wouldn't be going to college, I'll tell you that. Our movement would not be where it is today without Nina's tenacity in the face of challenges and her commitment to transforming public education. We all, I speak for everyone, wish you a very hearty congratulations on your induction into the Charter School Hall of Fame. And now, we are very excited to hear from our award-winning keynote speaker. And also, if you stay with us until the end of the session, you get to see me live out my dream of playing the role of a whimsical chocolate factory owner, because I get to announce who won the golden ticket contest and a VIP experience for next year's conference in Orlando, Florida. But, yes, give it up for Orlando, Florida. But also, you don't have to wait until then to win some cool prizes, because yes, we have a few surprises for a few lucky audience members. If you look under the chair under your chair, you might find some NCSC 24 swag or a book by an educator. Also, if you have an empty chair, you could probably look under that one as well and claim it as your own. Wave it if you got some swag. Let's see what the swag is. I see some swag. Maybe some bags, yes? Yeah, I see some people like running to the chairs over there. Maybe there's some there, I don't know. Perhaps. Yes. All right, take your time to check around. Good. That felt cool. I felt like Oprah then. That was very nice. That was cool. All right, did everyone check? Great. Congratulations to those who found something underneath their seat. And again, at the end, I'll be announcing the golden ticket winner. But now, I want to introduce Spencer Russell, founder of Toddlers CAN Read, an organization that helps parents teach their children to read at an early age. Spencer is a trailblazer in the field of literacy innovation and a former teacher and a winner of the Harriet Ball Teacher Excellence Award. He recently gave a keynote on why we should stop talking about the literacy crisis at South by Southwest EDU. And now he's here today to share his innovative approach with us by discussing how schools and systems can transform their relationships with families to ensure student success. Give it up for Spencer Russell.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team in. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. I done kept it real from the jump.
One of the best decisions I ever made was to quit teaching. It's true. It was February of 2014. I was in the second year of my 2-year Teach for America commitment, and I was 16 weeks from freedom. I had endured all the bumps and bruises of a brand new charter school teacher. I had a classroom full of kids who'd rather paint my accent wall than pay attention. I had a group of frustrated parents who wanted their kids to be placed anywhere else in the world but in my classroom. And a pace and lifestyle that I couldn't possibly maintain. I remember I had trouble getting to sleep because of my workload and then staying asleep because of my anxiety. I had lost so much weight that one of the teachers at the neighboring school had noticed from the parking lot and reported their concern to my principal. To top it all off, I was lonely. The best friends I had before teaching, they didn't understand my new life and responsibilities. So now the best friends I had were the 25 little friends on the carpet. In the mornings, I would drive to work in my little used 2009 Hyundai Elantra, and for every minute of that 21-minute drive, I hoped that a car or a truck, hell, I would have taken a bus, y'all. I just needed something to run me off that road. Anything. I wanted to get injured just bad enough that I could quit without quitting. And the evenings weren't much better. Every night, I microwaved that same sad can of Chef Boyardee ravioli. And if you don't know what that is, God bless you. Because it is not great. And to this day, I don't know what Mr. Boyardee did, but that man was no chef. Someone tell him I said that. I'd eat my ravioli and I'd work and I'd work and I'd work until I passed out from exhaustion, and I woke up the next day and I did it all again. So after one particularly challenging morning in my classroom, I decided I was done. I came home that night, I drafted a fresh resume, I bought this thick GRE prep book from Amazon, and I started browsing every job board I could find. Between me and you, I didn't know where I would go or what I would do next. I just knew that anything would be better than teaching. Now, I'll cut to the chase, because obviously I wouldn't be here with you if I didn't end up sticking it out for a couple of years and experiencing some significant success with my students. Because I did. But that change, that turnaround that happened, it wasn't because I became some superstar teacher or attended some awesome conference. It wasn't because I worked harder or worked longer hours. In fact, when my AP came to visit my classroom one afternoon and she was trying to figure out what in the world changed, she left almost disappointed with my answer. Because the truth is, that change wasn't about me at all. It was about how I involved parents and caregivers in their children's education. When I'd made that fateful decision to quit, I had made a second, more important decision at the same time. I had drawn a line in the sand. I told myself, if I'm gonna leave anyways, I might as well do all the things I told myself I would do when I took this job in the first place. And for me, at the top of that list was home visits. It was visiting my kids and their families, having dinner with them, hearing. We got some home visits here. I love that. Hearing how I could better support their kid at school while also sharing how they could better support their kids at home. And then it was parent-led workshops. It was bringing parents in to share with each other the tips and tricks and strategies that they were using at home to best support their kids. And then it was parent volunteers. And no, not like the kind that laminated sentence strips and cut letters, although we did have those too. I mean, parents leading targeted small groups in reading and math while I led the whole group instruction. And no, this didn't happen overnight. Yes, it took some time. But by the time we were done with our students, and yes, I mean we, my parents and I, 96% of our 28 first graders had grown over a year in math, with 1/3 of them scoring in the 97th, 98th, or 99th percentile. Thank you. In reading, we had over half the class in the top quintile, which means 80% and above. And that, my friends, is the power of parent partnerships. Now, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this talk today, it's this. Parents are the most important, yet the least utilized tool in our fight against educational inequality. The most important, yet the least utilized. And I will go further to say that unless we fully recognize and incorporate the value that our children's parents bring to the educational process, nothing meaningful is ever going to change. We're going to continue to spin our wheels, to work harder, work longer, burn out, adopt some new initiative or program that doesn't ultimately do the thing it says it's going to do. And it's going to be our kids who pay the price. So I want to get really specific, really concrete here with 5 things we can do to revolutionize student success through parent partnerships, okay? Let's start with number 1. First thing, get to know your students. And you might be saying to yourself, well, Spence, obviously we want to get to know our students. But I would tell you this, just because it is common knowledge does not make it common practice. And we all know that our ability to build relationships with students varies widely from person to person. And unless we are super intentional and we come in with a strategy of how we're going to build relationships and get to know our students, we leave this largely up to chance. And unfortunately, chance is not good enough. So what I want to do here, because I know there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience in the room, is I want to know what are the things that you do to get to know your students. I want you to think through what is like the number one tip, trick, strategy, tool, resource. What's the thing that you do every year to build strong relationships with your students Or take a minute and just tell someone next to you. Does that work? Does that work? Cool. All right, 30 seconds each. What's like the number one thing that you do to build relationships with students? Go ahead. Take about 10 more seconds. Great, and let's come on back. We could talk about this all day. If you find me after, I've got a million tips and tricks to share. I know that your partner does too. So if you want more strategies, keep the conversation going. For the sake of time, I just want to say this. Don't forget to do the basics really, really well. Because anyone who has a kid will tell you the fastest way to build a relationship with you is to have a strong relationship with the kid. And if that kid doesn't like and doesn't trust you, good luck reaching the parent. It's not going to happen. Okay? We've got to get to know our kids really, really well and have a clear plan coming in. Okay? Let's go to number 2. Believe in parents. Believe in parents. And to illustrate this, I want to do another quick activity. Can all of the current or former teachers please stand up? Anyone who either is a teacher now or has been a teacher before. Love it. We love the teachers. Okay. Please continue standing for just a moment for me. I know, it was not just for the applause. I'm going to come close so I can see who's honest here, okay? Teachers, genuine question for you. How many of you were good when you first started? What you're going to do is go ahead and take a seat if you were not. And if you were actually a good teacher, year 1, day 1, minute 1, you can stay standing. Otherwise, you can take a seat. I saw you. You were thinking about it. All my friends still standing. There's like 10 of you. You guys can sit down too. You're something else. I don't know where you taught. Here's my point. Because I asked the same question to the 2015 National Teacher of the Year, Shanna Peoples. I said, Shanna, we're cool like that. I said, Shanna, how good were you when you started? And she laughed at me. She laughed at the question. She said, not very good. And then I turned to a room full of some of the best teachers in Texas. 2015, 2016, 2017, future 2020 Texas Teacher of the Year. I said, how good were you? And they laughed too. If all of us needed time, we needed patience, we needed coaching, we needed training, we needed someone to believe in us in order to realize our full potential teaching, then why would we expect anything different when it comes to our parents? Think about it. How often do people get frustrated that parents are asking you the same question day after day? They didn't sign the thing. They didn't do the homework right. It takes time. And if someone poured that into you, if they invested in you, if they believed that you were capable, even when you sucked, then why can't we grant parents that same level of respect? And just because I'm passionate about this one, I just want to say this. You will never be great as an educator if you believe that your parents and their kids are not. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some training. It's going to take some investment. They may not know the right words to use or the right ways to teach those lessons, but if you meaningfully incorporate them into the lessons, your kids' parents can do it. Number 3, we need to build trusting relationships with our parents. And I could have used any word, but I wanted to use the word trusting because I think when we really think about this in like any other area of life, this makes a lot of sense to us. But somehow when it comes to our kids and their parents, a lot of that goes out the window and we forget what it actually means to build a trusting relationship. So here's what we're gonna do for this one. I want you to take out something for notes. This can be a phone to take out. You can use your notes app. It can be paper, pencil, your conference agenda, but go ahead and take out something that you're gonna write with. Once you've got it, go ahead and hold it up for me. Keep going, something to write with. Go ahead and hold it up when you're ready. Because I'm gonna time y'all. I was wearing a watch earlier. It's off. What you're gonna do, take 30 seconds. I want you to write down as many ways as you can that you build trusting relationships with parents. I don't care what your role is. 30 seconds, write down as many ways as you can that you build trusting relationships with parents. Go ahead. Ten more seconds. Okay, I'm gonna cut you short there, and I want you to call some of them out. You're gonna have to be very loud so I can hear, but just call out one of the ways that you build relationships. Great, more. Yep, love, thank you. Wonderful. Great. Love the random good calls home. Okay, same thing now. I want you to hold those. I know there's more, but this time I want you to imagine someone you love. For me, it might be my son or my wife. For you, it might be a family member or a friend. I want you to think of someone that you really, really, really care about and take 30 seconds for them. What are all the ways that you build relationships with that person? 30 seconds, think of your person, go. See some of y'all fighting to make this 30 seconds. You got it. About 10 more seconds. And same thing here. Go ahead and call those out. What are some of the ways that we build relationships with the people that we love? Words of affirmation, gifts, what else? Support. Tell them you care, visit, what else? Yes. Invite them over to your house. I love it. And here's the thing. A lot of us, not in this room, we're better than this, but a lot of us in education, when we think about that first category, building relationships with parents, we think phone call, text message, email, dojo, conference. We think about the method of communication, the mode, the means. We think about the thing itself when the thing is neither positive nor negative. It's just a thing. Phone call is not a relationship builder. Phone call can destroy relationships if you don't do it right. Text message is not how you build relationships. It is a method. But when we think about our loved ones, a lot of us think of the message. We think of the thing we're communicating to them. I don't think about my son and I think, okay, today, text. Okay, today, 3 points on Class Dojo. I think I want to look him in the eyes and I want to tell him every day he's the most important thing in my life. It's the message that we communicate. And we understand with our loved ones that our relationship is a give and take. It's not a give, give, give. But so many of us, we assume that parents come with nothing and that it is our job to fill them up. It's our job to give, phone call, conference, email. That is a method, it is not a message. And unless we focus on the message over the methods, that relationship is never going to be trusting and parents won't be bought in. So what I want you to do as your action here, you keep the methods, you keep the phone calls, you keep the conferences, you keep the texts, you keep the emails, but I want you to think about what you're actually communicating. It should not always be about what you can give and what you can provide, but what you can learn. Not just your hopes and aspirations for the child, but get to know what are that parent's hopes, aspirations, and dreams for that child, because it's going to change your relationship and the way that you show up in the classroom. Now, number 4. I tried to think of a nice way to say this. I couldn't. Stop making excuses. When I first started teaching, I had every excuse in the book. I said, but do you know how poor my parents are? But do you know how many of them are single moms? Do you know how much they work? And what I didn't realize at the time was my excuses were creating my reality. And it was precisely because I didn't believe my parents could do it that my parents weren't actually doing it. If you're sitting in this session today and you're thinking, but Spence, you don't know my community. This would never work for where I live. Spence, you don't know my role. I'm not a teacher anymore. This wouldn't work for me. Spence, you don't know my personality. I could never do that, right? If you're sitting here and making those excuses, you know it's never going to happen. What you could do instead is you could take this for what it is. This is a spark. This is an idea. This is some inspiration. This is to say that I don't know how you are going to apply this to your situation. But if you believe it is possible, if you believe that parents can support their kids, you will figure out a way to do something to help those kids and their parents because they depend on it. And I guess the positive way to frame this is number 5. Maybe we say, okay, instead of stop making excuses, what we do is we start committing to action. We pick something we're going to do differently. Now, I don't know you. I don't know your community. I don't know your role. I don't know your personality. I don't know your experience. I don't know if you've walked all the way to the end of this road and you're looking for that next final step to take, or whether you're standing right at the beginning with 2 feet afraid to pick one of them up. I don't know. But what I do know is there is something each and every one of you can do. 1 home visit, 1 parent workshop, 1 volunteer, 1 time where you say, okay, this week I'm focused on the message I'm communicating to parents, not just the method. There's something that each and every one of you can do to empower parents because it will change your student success, not just in that year with you, not just in those 6 or 8 years at your school, it will change it forever moving forward. Now, I want you to imagine with me for a moment that it is November of 2024. It's your first day back from Thanksgiving break, and you sit in your car, it idles for a moment, you turn off that morning playlist, and you take a deep breath before stepping out and walking to the door. Now, in years past, those steps may have been challenging. They may have been miserable. You may have gotten to that door and swiped your key card and wondered, what the hell am I doing here? Why did I come back? Am I really making the difference that I told myself I'd make in these students' lives? And how long can I sustain this? But not this year, my friends, because this year, you spent the whole first semester building meaningful relationships with your parents. That action that you wrote down, that thing that you committed to today, you actually did it. And as a result, you're no longer walking alone, you're no longer walking in fear, but you are walking in your purpose alongside your parents. You don't have to bear the sole weight and responsibilities for your student success. Because when you follow these 5 steps, there is no limit to what you and your students can accomplish. Now, I want to just say, from one former teacher to others, a lot of you are teachers, admins, school leaders. I'm just so honored to be here with you today. I appreciate and respect the work that each of you does, and I promise you this: as long as there is air in my lungs, I will fight to make sure as many children are reading as possible before they ever set foot in your classrooms. I want to wish each and every one of you a safe, productive, happy, successful school year. Thank you so much for having me, and go kick some ass.
Keep it going for Spencer Russell.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that exciting and informative keynote, Spencer. You clearly went above and beyond to build strong relationships with your students and their families and empower them as educators and partners. Thank you to Eric Paisner and our new Hall of Fame inductee, Nina Rees, of course, and to all of you. Give yourselves a round of applause, y'all. Each and every one of you, with your diversity of experiences and roles in the charter school movement, are what makes this community so welcoming and so great, and even speaking personally, makes this such a fun time with all your energy, your dancing, and your warmth. Together, we've made this event something truly special, and now, sadly, we are almost at the end of our general sessions for the 2024 National Charter School Conference. There's more to come this evening with encore performances of some of Monday's most popular content, starting at 4:15 p.m., and tomorrow morning, our program resumes here with homeroom starting at 8 a.m. sessions and 9 a.m. And for the real early birds, 6:30 a.m. with stress release yoga. Look at that. Hopefully I'll see you there. You won't see me there. Hopefully you'll be there and you'll enjoy that. I probably won't be there. But now I'm excited to announce the big golden ticket winner with this big envelope. Yes! This motivated conference goer made the most of the NCSC experience by visiting multiple booths hosted by our incredible network of vendors and attending solution sessions. Let's get a drum roll with your feet, please. All right. The winner of the 2024 golden ticket to get VIP conference access to Orlando next year is Dorothy Gemarino. That's exciting. Is Dorothy here? Everyone, give it up for Dorothy. Dorothy will have a VIP experience at our 2025 conference in Orlando, Florida from June 29th to July 2nd. So I'm going to leave you with a sneak peek of what's coming next. Again, thank you all so much for being here this year, and we will see you next year in Orlando. You've been great. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Goodbye.